Everyone has a story to tell. That's been the exact message I said all the way back in my freshman year of high school when I truly started writing books and how to write a full-on story. Now, I've been making YouTube videos of how to write and how to read better, but it's time for me to share exactly what it takes to not only tell a good story for books itself, but also the way you should tell stories both in your free time as well as content creation like myself here. I've been making plenty of videos in this past year alone, and reaching around the 25th video as of recording this one, I've understood what it takes in all of these factors. So to tell a good story, this can be used anywhere, everywhere. So once you're watching this video will change your life. So, understanding the rules of a good story all starts with the first big point I've written on this board, the hook. The hook is any kind of way you're trying to inform, persuade, or entertain some sort of audience, whether that be someone like you yourself or someone you're trying to tell, like a friend. If you're trying to recount some sort of story, you really start with just something that can ease them up. For instance, you want to get to the point as fast as possible and to say, I lost my car. That may be super simple in how everything is set up, but understanding where you stand in your hook, I lost my car, there's some sort of mystery and intrigue in that. It can be looking for just what tone you want. To understand a good hook, you really need to look at the direction you want to take. I lost my car sets up some sort of intrigue and some sort of mystery with how it is. You don't want to be whimsical. Well, I mean, you can be whimsical, but you don't want to be entirely basic. I've always read, one of my favorite books I've read this year is The Strange and Absurd Trust Exercise by Susan Choi. And the first line of that book was, neither of them, to some degree, it was a line of neither of them knew how to drive a car. It really pulled me in because something about just getting to the point already. That's what people say about hooks. 99% of people get the idea of hooks should be something grand and mystical, something that you should pull an audience in. And yes, while it is true, something as simple as I lost my car is not pretentious, and it's just a good way to set up details. It's a hook. You're supposed to pull in an audience like you're trying to tell a story, or if you're trying to tell something informative and detailed, it really starts with just getting to the point of whatever message you're trying to get to. So when you think of hook, purely think of the message that you will get to. And I will emphasize this when we get to the final point of this video. But once you set up the hook, it really then is just the setup afterward. So the example of, we can tell this short story of I lost my car, and it really comes with, I lost my car. You can say, I lost my car, and then you can follow it up with, it never happens this way. Now, understanding a good story is just many ways you can take it. To have a creative, sharp mind of however you want to tell it, it can be as simple as I'm making it out to be, but the reason why we're making it as simple is to explain each of these steps fully. The rule to having a good setup for a good story involves just emphasizing where you stand. It doesn't matter if you're trying to tell the deepest or richest story, but to have the audience at least pulled into the message you're trying to tell and set up every single one of these. That's what you do for every single paragraph and every single point of your story. You hook an audience back and forth with every hook and every setup. You just build on top of it and then you deliver. If I were to make a point 2.5, it'd just be the setup and then deliver that point. But the reason why we go from setup to empathy is to just look into where your story stands. For any kind of story you're trying to tell on a YouTube video or in your day-to-day life, having that hook and the setup go hand in hand. But the empathy part is where the audience kicks in. You don't want an audience to be left-handed and confused, but you can understand where their point is, to have them see where it is. For instance, if the previous line was, I lost my car, following it never happens this way, you can say something like, I haven't lost my car since I was 16. Nothing too deep about this point. I haven't lost my car since I was 16. But it still adds to the tone of the previous few sentences And understanding where the audience stands, you could have them be put in the shoes of this character. The way you want to have intriguing characters in a good story that allow the story to shine more is to have the audience empathize with where the characters stand. Knowing where they stand allows this whole idea for the message you want to get across. And it's really that last point, the message. The message is the single most important part of a good story, no matter if you're trying to entertain, persuade, or inform an audience. Following the idea of I lost my car, it never happens this way, and I haven't since I was 16, the idea, the message you want to get across with this is where the character stands. So you could say something like, I'm sad, but it won't happen. Now this sounds elementary, comparing this all, and you're probably either my age or older confused. Why am I explaining a 4-sentence story in a way that should be looked as life-changing? But to understand where this story is, it really pulls every single small detail. The rules of a good story is however you make it. I'm not here to tell you what story to tell and how to exactly detail it. I will plan on that in the future, but looking into my own skills and what I personally do best, it's that simplistic aspect of sharing some sort of message, informing, entertaining, or persuading that school really hammers in on. And one they largely forget, even with the hammering, because they forget this idea of the empathy going hand in hand with the message, which is built on top of the hook and the setup. Tell a good story, it all involves just building on top of yourself. A story is one way of getting a point to the message, but how the author and the storyteller acts, that's how the direction is. The life secret, the video game cheat code to a good story is confidence. On top of everything I shared in this one video already, confidence allows all of this to be put together. I purposely made every single one of these sentences super short and super simple, but if I were to explain it in a way that is super confident, there's something that you can pull and grasp at. Here, let me explain. I lost my car. It never happens this way usually, but I haven't since I was 16. I'm sad, but it doesn't happen until the following day. Now, I may have made that on the spot, and yet something about that you were pulled into. You were distressed or some sort of intrigued mystery. It takes these 4 simple sentences and puts them together. And that's what it takes to tell a good story. No matter what kind of direction you want, or any kind, as the second you pull the audience's attention in, you retain some sort of memory or idea of what you're trying to get across. Being able to consistently do that takes plenty of points and self-improvement ideas. So once again, having the confidence to build that, it truly starts with just looking into every single point. It's not the way it's written, but it's how it's delivered. And once you figure out the direction you want to take with this, the way I've come up with these YouTube videos and how to explain them perfectly well, that's the rules to a good story. And if you want more ideas of just how to get that across, my other videos are down below here in my channel. But if you want a more logistical and easy look at a good story, check the top link of the description for my first book. Reading that file helped a lot of people, both in my high school as well as those older than me, and it's the respect I gained that comes with a good story. Why you want to tell a good story and how to deliver it, all it takes sometimes is the simple aspects. So reading that book in the top link of the description will be worth it. If you want to help me out with my second book, you can. And along with my other socials, if you want to contact me personally. And until next time, I hope you take every single one of these details to tell an even better story than where you stand. And truly, take care.